Oi, Bonita. Welcome back to the Bonita podcast. I am your host, Viviane, and today we have a very special guest, very special to my heart. I just got to know this woman months ago, but it feels like I already know her for years. So, welcome, Miss Majet Reyes.
Hello, oi, Bonita.
Oh, Bonita, I'm so happy to have you here because I know you have so much to share. And I was super excited when you said yes, when I invite you to be a part of this episode. So I'm very curious. There's your story is very fascinating because you switch careers in your lifetime to this point. And I have so many questions to ask you, but the first question, I want to understand why you chose to become a paramedic.
Oh, I haven't been asked that question in a while, but I've always like voluntarily just quickly, share it to anyone who asked me how my story evolved into, a business owner and a trauma therapist. But to answer your question, I became a paramedic because when 9/11 happened, September 11, 2001, I was in nursing school. And as I was going through that, 9/11 happened, and I was watching the news and I saw the burning buildings in New York, and I saw people running out, and then there were people going in.
Mhm.
And those people who are going into the buildings, saving lives, were firefighters, cops. And then there's this other group of people that I was like, who are those? So I'm an immigrant, right, from the Philippines. So we didn't have paramedics like in the Philippines back when I was growing up there in the 80s. So now they do, but then back then, no. I was like, who are those group of people? Um, and it says, paramedic, and NYC, NYPD, right? New York Fire Department, and then paramedics. And I was like, okay, I don't want to be a cop. Like I knew that for sure. I knew that I don't want to be going to burning buildings all the time, right? So I didn't want to be a firefighter, although firefighters do many other things than just going into burning buildings. And then I was curious about the profession paramedic. So I looked it up in a phone book, right? And then I saw a school, and then I called them up, and then that's when I started switching from like being in nursing school to becoming a paramedic. And I was a paramedic for 13 years.
Wow. Because why was that? What made you to
Oh,
even
yeah,
go into that industry?
that's
Because
oh,
it's a powerful calling, just like teachers, just like therapists, just like mothers.
yeah.
Because not
Oh,
everybody
very, very,
can be
very,
mothers, right?
very good follow-up question, Viviane, because I so as an immigrant, right? As an immigrant, and I was 16 when I moved here with my parents, and if you live in a developing country, and grew up there, you know that America is the country to go to, right? Right? And then it's like, okay, it's like where your dreams come true, where you become somebody, and achieve the dreams that you have. So as an immigrant moving into the country, I was 16, and then in 2001 I was 21 already, and I was like, how can I give back to this country that I have adopted or have adopted me? And I felt that being a paramedic, serving the community, working in 911 system is something that is giving back to the people of this country. So that was one of the very enticing thing about the profession for me, right? As a, like I wasn't even a citizen yet at that time, right? When I became a citizen in 2003, and and that was one of the reasons because I wanted to give back. I was patriotic in a way at that time, and also I wanted to stay in the medical field. I grew up with my parents. Programming in my brain that medical field, there's always a job, and a lot of Filipinos are nurses. Actually, I don't know if you know that, but there's a lot of Filipinos who are nurses, and it's like either you become a nurse, or you go to the Navy, or you become an accountant, or you become a doctor, but you're always in the medical field or math or Navy, like that. The stereotype. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay in the medical field, and paramedic, it's in the medical field, but it's in emergency medical services, and also you wear that uniform, and I feel patriotic wearing that uniform. answering 911 calls. So yeah.
And I feel like it might have just kind of touched your heart with that idea that you could make a difference at that moment in time with your heart,
Yeah.
right? With at times you hear people like volunteering for a cause that from afar we appreciate, from afar we can donate money, but there are kinds of human beings that they will give their lives for that cause. And that's what you did.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's
it's
beautiful.
it's 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 helping, right? It's always in the profession of, it's a helping profession,
Mhm.
right? Whether you're, a nurse, a doctor, a teacher, right? You're helping. And there are many other industries that do help people. And I found that with being a paramedic, you show up at the worst day of someone's life, right? One of the worst days of their lives, right? And being able to help them, or save their lives. It's not every day that we save lives, right? But just showing up for those people, knowing that, hey, like, I know this is one of the worst days of your life, if not the worst day of your life, but I'm here for you, to help you through this and do my best to, help you. So yeah.
So for me, it's only natural for you to become a trauma counselor.
Mm. Oh, girlfriend, the journey to becoming a trauma counselor is like, it's a long time coming, in
Mm,
a way that, as a paramedic, every day, not literally every day I go into work and witness traumatic events, right? But with my own trauma, I think that was the reason why I became a trauma counselor. I didn't seek it out. I just knew that I couldn't be a paramedic anymore. For 13
mm,
years, doing what I did with that, working for the fire department, working for a private company, working for hospitals, and then becoming a mom, and knowing that, I couldn't continue doing this work because it no longer it wasn't fulfilling me anymore, in a way that I wanted to grow more. I want to be challenged in a different way, and also, um, something bad happened to me working when I was a paramedic. When I was assaulted by my coworkers, and that added to the trauma, that, not only the everyday trauma that I get from witnessing other people's trauma, but also having to heal that trauma that I had experienced. And then also, with that part of me, realizing that I have so many unprocessed and unhealed traumas from, like, being an immigrant, being a brown person living in America, being in a field of mostly men, white men, right? And being, um, growing up in a developing or third world country during that time, right? And all those traumas that needed to be healed. So it was me looking for some healing, that
mm.
kind of like me ending up in the field of trauma therapy. Again, I wasn't seeking it. It kind of like the universe kind of threw it at me. Hey, check this out. So
Mhm.
yeah.
So then, tell me into more detail, how did you, um, I think like there is a part of us that we are always, some point in time, we are introduced to a book, a podcast, or even a
Mm.
conversation with a professional, and you're like, maybe I need therapy, or maybe I need to, maybe this is the industry that I want to get into because I have these skill sets, or because I'm just curious, right? So to understand the evolution of being a trauma counselor therapist,
Mhm.
did you jump into after you work in your trauma, or afterwards that you're like, wait a minute, I have some unresolved trauma, so I need to care for myself. And as you're doing that, then you learn that you can also help others.
Yeah. Ooh, what a beautiful question. So, um, when that significant event that happened to me when I was working as a paramedic, that traumatic event, that was, the assault that I experienced, did not lead me to therapy. No, it led me into depression and
Mm,
post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety, right? And how I coped with that was working harder, working more, taking on another job, becoming a bartender and also a paramedic, and and exercising more, right? Working, I was in best shape of my life, partying more, right? Drinking more, and that was how I cope, right? And it was normalized, right? It was normal in the field. It was normal in our society, right? You work hard. You don't want to rest. You just went through something traumatic. Come on, just keep moving, right? And that was my mentality back then. I was like, I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to show people that I am strong, freaking strong. I'm going to work more. I'm going to show you. I'm going to work out more. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show up in all freaking social engagement, and I will party a lot harder than you do. And that's how I coped, right? With the PTSD, with anxiety, and with the depression. I would not admit that I was depressed, anxious, or has PTSD. No, that's shameful. No. So there you go. But that wasn't sustainable,
mm,
girlfriend. It wasn't sustainable.
mm,
To a point in my life where I'm like, I just wanted to sleep, right? Because I was tired. My nervous system, I didn't know this at that time. My nervous system was so dysregulated,
mm,
right? And all I wanted to do was sleep. But of course I couldn't sleep because of all this unprocessed thoughts and feelings, right? That I
mm,
had been suppressing with alcohol, with work, with partying, and with, working out. So it still took me 10 years and a semester in grad school, Viviane, before I reached out for healing. Took me 10 years. And it was, when my daughter was born, and I saw this beautiful, baby, and I'm like, I wanted her to be happy, right? And I'm like, how can I expect a child to be happy if I wasn't? Was not happy. But for other people, I was successful though,
mm,
right? They can look at me and be like, oh, she's successful. She's happy. But deep down, I was not. I was struggling. And I was like, okay, I gotta work on me. Right. And it was that moment when I was looking at my daughter, I'm like, I just want her to be happy. And I was like, okay, what do I need to do? Right. I'm like, I know what I'm going to do. Again, listen to this. My mentality. I'm like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to school. Right? I'm like, I'm gonna go back to school. I'm already working. I'm a new mom, and I'm like, I'm gonna go back to school and change careers. Right? I I'm happy because of my job. Right? I'm gonna change careers. So I'm like, okay, what do most paramedics become after they're done with being a paramedic? A lot of times they become nurses, or they become ER doctors, or they become PAs. So I applied to nursing school. I applied at PA school, physician assistant. I got rejected, rejected, rejected. I'm like, and then I got on my knees, and
mm.
I'm like, God, right? I'm not religious, but I do believe there's a higher power. I do believe in
Spiritual.
God,
Mm,
um, and I'm like, okay, you tell me what you want me to do.
mm,
You tell me how you want me to serve others.
mm,
I don't know what I want to do. I thought I want to be a nurse or a physician assistant, but I know for a fact I don't want to be a paramedic anymore. That I know for sure. But you tell me how you want me to serve your people.
mm,
Then, I don't know how long, maybe a few days or a week, I don't know, but I got this postcard. And on this postcard from Jefferson University, but at that time it was Philadelphia University. And I went to I got my bachelor's from Philadelphia University. So I got this postcard and it says community and trauma counseling, master's program. It's new. It was just the second year that they're having this program. Check it out. I'm like, oh, interesting. Let me check it out. Again, right? Not knowing that I'm going to be a therapist. So I went, heard the talk of the professors, the former students, and I fell in love. I fell in love with the program. And then, it was a 2-year program. It wasn't easy, but I knew that I was meant to be there. And as I was going through that program, I realized that, like, I have a story to tell. I have my own traumas. And, and then I discovered that I have so many unhealed wounds. And as I was learning how to become a trauma therapist, I was learning how to heal myself as well. So again, it was 10 years and a semester in grad school before I realized that I need to pause. I need to acknowledge the pains and the adversities, right? That I have experienced. And I'm like, oh my God, like I need to, like, all these coping mechanisms that I was doing of moving, right? Proving the world that I'm strong was not helping, right? So that was the moment I realized that, I had to go find a therapist, right? So I found a therapist, worked with him for a lot of years, and and the healing continues, right? I will pause. I have done my shadow work, right, throughout the years. I've done my Reiki. I've done the working with a shaman. I've had experience with mushroom, like all these different healing modalities, right, to heal the traumas that I experienced, right? The big T's and the little T's, right? That made me who I am, the survival mechanisms that I've learned, right? Like I need to become aware of those and realize that, these were not helping. It helped me before, right? But as a grown up now, as who I am now, like it doesn't help anymore, right? And just realizing those, like, I'm still healing, and but I am in a much better place than where I was 10 years ago. So yeah.
We have such a parallel experience.
Mm,
And that's why I think I fell in love with you when you spoke at Selfish Philly. Very
mm.
powerful. I just love your deliverance. There's so much power in your voice and your expression. And now I understand why.
Mm,
Because we we have the same calling for um the betterment of humanity.
mm,
Being a woman, we understand, what we struggle with, the saying yes to everything and no to ourselves.
mhm,
Being an immigrant myself,
mhm,
um, coming from a household dynamic that was very toxic, between my mom and dad fighting all the time, my father being an alcoholic, very aggressive verbally and physically.
mhm,
Watching my mother going through that, watching my mother also become codependent to that kind of dynamic, led
mhm,
me to go through childhood into teenager years where I was seeking to just run,
mhm,
because that was just too much for me. And so I'm a fan of Dr. Mate, Gabor Mate.
Dr. Gabor Mate.
I
Oh,
love him. I have 4 of his books. I have watched his lectures on YouTube for 2 years. I just freaking love him. And so, and I'm in therapy as well, but and his words for me, it really touched my heart when he talks about trauma, when you talk about the big T and the little T. I could understand. He said something to me that really kind of brought a lot of clarity to my behavior, right? And this is like you're talking about healing, like it's a continuous work. It never stops, because you are evolving as a mother, as a woman, as a child. The inner child is always there.
mhm,
And he said he always says this: trauma is not what happens with you, is what happens inside of you. And that, as I'm speaking right now, I'm having goosebumps because it led me to a memory, the first memory of my childhood, where I my father, like, quick story, my father, I was 11 years old, it was my birthday. That memory is so vivid in my mind. And my mother had me like leaving the house, we were about to get the cake. If for some reason my mother found out that my father was with another woman, right? So she found him. And as he was leaving from a motel with that woman, my mother ran to get the woman and left me on the sidewalk.
And this
It's
was your
not
birthday,
happening.
right?
That was my birthday.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So my father picked me up, and he asked me to get in the car, and I was like, Dad, is it my fault? Is it my fault? And he was like, no, baby, it's not your fault. And I was crying because, one, I am worried about my mother. I am seeing my father in distress, and that was it. So the memory goes away, right? Then there are memories of my father telling me that, in his mind, he wanted me to be a student with A's and, be studious. And because I already been suffering from other times of, not other kinds of trauma, but witnessing that kind of dynamic in my household. And not only that, bad grades also led to spanking for a punishment, like kneeling on like corn and facing the wall, like stuff. And like, outside of this country, it would be like it's normal. Back
Yes.
now that we are more conscious, I hope so. Or parents, or I wouldn't do that to my son. So anyway, the point is, I grew up thinking there is in the back of my mind, there is always been this thing like, I am not smart enough, therefore it's never enough, therefore I need to buy another book, I need to buy another course, I need to take another class. I was saying no to things because I didn't believe I could really handle, right? And through relationships with men, and there were like trigger moments that I was like, shit, the feeling was very familiar. So I will go into defending myself. And then my mother would show up where I would kind of try to, maybe it's me. So I had a tendency to kind of dim my light or dim who I am, as a Brazilian woman. I'm thinking that I was too needy, thinking that I was too this and too that. So fast forward, as I could afford therapy, I was kind of getting to know like where these responses were coming from, and got to a point that I had to get have a one-on-one with my father via Skype at that time. Okay. That's how long ago. And
I remember Skype.
Yeah. So I said, Dad, I'm working on myself, and this is what I am unpacking, and I need you to listen. So we had the conversation. He, because of those times, here are my, my shortcomings. And he was like, I am so sorry. I am aware, and I feel so bad with the things that I have done to my family, to your mother. And we are crying, right? So I had that kind of healing process with him. Fast forward, still lingering. And this was showing up in my work. It was showing up in relationships. And then I found Dr. Mate, and I was like, oh, I still carry this. Then I was introduced to ayahuasca.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Okay. So then we went deeper and wide. And so I would say that was going through stuff. That was another pivotal moment in my life where everything was falling apart, and I was falling with it. And so I was like, okay, we still need to work on the big T. That was the big T in my life. And the little T's is just like always getting to relationship with emotional unavailable men, because I was unavailable. Because I will go in with, please love me, I'm a good person. and please love me, because that's what my mother did to my father.
Right,
Right.
right.
So
Yeah. It's that codependency,
that
right?
codependency. And so
Yeah.
when I was going, this was like the revelation really came to the tip of point through therapy. And then my therapist was like, the issue always been my father. That was the focus. And then she's like, well, but as you keep sharing with me, have you also considered the fact that you also have to do some healing with your mom? And I was like, yes, to this point, to this day. So,
Yeah.
so going back to what you're saying, there's so much more. I'm gonna write a book about my life.
Right. Yeah.
As an immigrant, like that's what I also related to you. As an immigrant, we had to go through also creating a new identity to adapt to this culture. And so
100%.
as I have to create a new identity, I also lost a little bit of myself.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
I feel like I'm still trying to get myself back. But I also know that I'm doing a much better job than 15 years ago. So I would like to know from you, like, because I'm curious as an immigrant, how did you deal with maintaining who you truly are? Meanwhile, you need to survive in this country. What was the type of work, or what was the coping mechanism for you to really like, okay, I got this, I need to go through this because I want to stay here and
Mhm.
I have things to do. Share with me and share with us, because we have
Yeah.
listeners. Yeah, how did you deal with like creating this new identity in order for you to survive in America?
Yeah. Um, it when you're an immigrant, right? You wanna blend in, right? You don't want to stick out. You want to blend in. You want to follow the rules. You want to do what most people are doing, and the majority of people doing in the space that you're in. I definitely wanted to blend in. I like like listening to you earlier about what you're sharing, like dimming my own light, holding my words, not speaking up, not expressing how I feel, not asking for what I need, right? Um, like those are the coping mechanisms that I've learned, right? To not stick out, and to not get attention. And like I already stick out, right? Like as like you and I, like we like I mean, it's the spaces that we're finding ourselves in nowadays is it's more diverse. But back then, right? Like I find myself like I'm the only, either the only female or the only brown individual, or the only brown female, right? And it's like, okay, like I already stick out, so I'm going to just like not hide. That I don't think that was my intention, but my intention was like, how can I be just in the background, be a fly on the wall, and like and not get a lot of attention. And that was hard for me because in the Philippines I was loud and boisterous. I was an only child, and I was like really encouraged to be like myself, and speak out, and be creative, and be and I went on all girls Catholic school, and and we were like programmed to like be expressive, right? And then moving to this country, I'm like, I knew how to speak English, but not very well, right? And I have a strong accent, like that's gonna make me stick out. People are gonna laugh at me, right? Right? So I'm like, how can I just stay quiet, not put a lot of attention? So that was my coping mechanism. And also I wanted to assimilate. I wanted to do what most people do, the people, right? I wanted to if drinking was a norm, I'm gonna drink. If hanging out like a guy was a norm, I'm gonna hang out like a guy, right? Like it's all like, how can I blend in, right? And I am. Oh, this is something that when you were talking about, like in relationship, I was the same thing with relationship. I was like, what do you need? I'll adjust to you. And I was proud of that too. I'm like, I can adjust. I can put me in any situation, I can adjust, right? And not knowing that I'm really covering my authentic self, right? I'm really pushing away my authentic self. And it's and recently just learned this. It's colonization, right? And I'm learning to decolonize myself by really using my nickname, Majet, right? I went with Maria for a very, very long time. I mean, it is my official name, right? Maria Janet Reyes, but but Majet is my nickname. It's a combination of Maria and Janet. And I love that. And people in my, Filipinos here in America and in the Philippines call me Majet. And now, I use that more, right? But before I will be like, call me Maria, right? Because either you can't pronounce it correctly or or you you're weirded out. That's gonna make me stick out, right? So I like, call me Maria, right?
Yeah.
Maria. So, but now it's like that colonization mentality that I didn't know that was the word for it, right? I thought I was just adjusting and what do you call that? What is the other word? Adjusting.
Adapting.
Adapting, yes. I'm very adaptable. You tell me what you want. You tell me what I need to do. Like, I'm so, in relationship, at work, right, at school, like that was me, not knowing that I'm really suppressing and pushing aside my authentic self. And how can I advocate for myself if I don't speak up? If I don't ask for what I need, if I don't express how I feel, right? So yeah, like those are the stuff that I could remember. I'm sure I've done many other like maladaptive coping mechanisms, right?
Well, I've done the same. So I can so relate to what you're saying. And I just had these memories right now as you were speaking. So let's go back to the word trauma.
Yeah.
The big T and the little T. Describe to us like what does it look like? And examples and how to cope, or how to not cope actually, but how to work through it when that shows up.
Yeah. So I really love how Dr. Gabor Mate, describe what trauma is, right? And trauma is not the significant event, it's not the actual event, right? It's that unfelt experience, right? Sorry, I repeat. It's that felt experience that was unprocessed. So something happened to us, and then we felt a certain way, right? And then we didn't feel safe enough. We never found a space that is safe enough for us to express how that felt like for us. That's the trauma. And that trauma we care, it's the feeling, right? That trauma, that feeling of the fear, shame, it's a big thing. Shame, guilt,
Guilt.
fear, anger, right? Um, like those feelings that we had and we didn't get to process those. That's the trauma that we carry with us, as whether that happened in our childhood, in our teens, in our early 20s, early in our life, like we carry that with us, as we get older. And then triggers come up. And then when we get triggered, is that felt experience, right? That feeling that was not processed come up. And then we get angry. Then we get defensive. Then, we shame other people, right? Then we start showing those unprocessed feelings, right? The stressors, the triggers show up, like, bring out our, unprocessed traumas, right? Because our reactions to these triggers and stressors didn't just pop out of nowhere. It has a root. Like the root of it is their past experiences, right? And then those past experiences has feelings, right? It brought out feelings for us, but then we didn't get to process those feelings. So that is the trauma that we're carrying around in our hearts, in our bodies, right? So that is trauma. Now, there is that big T and the little t's, and the big T is what we typically think of. A lot of people think that, trauma is, assault, rape, war, right? Natural disasters, death, accident, like those are the big T's, right? And sure, there may be a few people who had never experienced any of those big T's, right? But then all of us have experienced the little T's, right? And the little T's are those moments in our lives wherein we felt judged, shamed, blamed, neglected, abandoned, right? Unseen, unheard, right? Invalidated. Those are the little T's, those moments that are, you know, a lot of times it's our caregivers, it's our parents who made us feel those way, right? And I'm not saying this to blame our parents. Our parents have gone through a lot of shit as well, right? And that's their own experience. That's what they learn, and that's their experience. And they had their own unprocessed traumas, unprocessed feelings. And if that wasn't healed, then you know what? It's gonna be passed down to us. And this is why our healing is so important, because when we heal ourselves, not only are we healing ourselves, we're also healing our parents and their parents and this generational traumas that's being passed down so that we don't pass it down to the future generations, right? So yeah, like the the trauma, you know, these feelings that were not processed for us, so when those events, right, those instances or interactions that made us feel a certain way, it's feelings are something that a lot of people don't want to talk about, right? Our society did a very good job on teaching us how to not feel, right? Our society have taught us to just push through. You're strong, keep going forward, right? It taught us survival mode, right? Because when we're in survival mode, we want to continue living, right? We want to continue our lives. We want to survive. So it's survival mode, that we suppress the feelings. We didn't have time to feel. Because when we feel, you know, we feel the energy, we feel this pain, this hurt, and it's so scary, right? That society did a really good job to tell us that, no, like, don't feel, right? And if we do,
So
we're,
buy this so the feeling goes away.
what was that?
Buy
They,
this so the feeling goes away.
yes,
When
yes,
you like this
exactly.
celebrity, then your feeling is gonna go away. That's how
Right?
society plays, you know?
That's so true. That's so true. Yeah, buy this, get this, take this, right? So the feeling, so you won't feel that way. Like there's
On
so
the
much
feelings. Yeah.
shame on like emotions. And then if you do, oh, you're emotional. Like that's a dirty word, right? Or you're too sensitive, right? It's like, okay, then I'm not gonna feel. I'm just gonna work or push through and be strong, right? And then we just keep the traumas inside our bodies, and then we wonder why we kept getting triggered, right? And we kept getting stressed, and then we're reacting to it, right? So what we really need to do is to be able to feel, right? To be able to recognize what our survival tactics are. Like, what am I doing to, you know, that keeps me in survival mode, right? Because a life is meant to be lived, not just to survive. And feeling is living, right? We feel happy, we feel joy, we feel fulfilled, but we also, it's normal for us to feel sad, to feel angry, to feel scared, right? Like we can feel, and all we need to do is just acknowledge that, give it space, because that feeling is not going to stay forever. It just wanted to be acknowledged, right?
Mhm.
So it can go, and we're not reacting, but we're responding to ourselves when we feel that way. Oh, I'm feeling scared. Why am I scared? Oh, because this could be love, right? Or because this could be, you know, like this is a threat, right? It could be love, and we're not used to feeling loved, right? So our defense mode come up, and we'll be in survival mode and be like, push that person away, right? Or it could be like, oh, I'm scared because I feel threatened, right? So, and then being kind to ourselves and be like, okay, it makes sense why you feel scared, right? This person is reminding you of your father, or this person is reminding you of somebody who assaulted you, right? So it's a threat. But then it's that instead of reacting to it, you get to pause, acknowledge how you feel, learn where this is coming from. And then instead of reacting, you're responding mindfully to yourself, and you're responding mindfully in a way that, okay, I hear you. It makes sense why you feel that way. And it's such, it's such a kind thing to do for ourselves, instead of telling yourselves like, you should not feel that way, you got to keep moving, you got to keep pushing, right? You got to keep, you got to be strong, right? And like, you don't have time to feel sad, or that's a wrong feeling. You should not feel that way. Like, that's not kind. That's keeping you in survival mode, and that's not living. It's not sustainable.
Yeah, and that's what causes disease, and that's why
Exactly.
our nerve systems are, dysregulated,
Yes.
and we're even more vulnerable to triggers. That's why people just get mad on Facebook reading somebody else's comment on something that it doesn't have anything to do with them. So
Yes.
because you're just easy to be triggered, and you lose your sense of power when you're like that, because you haven't really developed that self-awareness, so you can control how you respond to things. And that is a constant conversation I have with my fiance, because of the work that I continue to do. Like, I avoid watching the news. I avoid to jump in conversations that I don't feel that
You don't
if
have
I
the bandwidth.
can't add any value, then I'm not gonna say anything. I respect people's opinion, but then, it's just human nature. We have a tendency to wanting to be right, right?
Yeah.
And then it causes all this disruption for nothing, because the only reason is because I want to be right. And so it's a waste of energy for me. So I have this conversation with my fiance, because he just something about the he's a debater, like he's amazing storyteller,
Mhm.
and by trade he's in that industry where he always needs to kind of bring the facts and kind of convince the board to consider different ideas. So anyway, the point is, I love the fact that you share with us what the big T and the little T, and I can see as an immigrant, the little T is a constant thing that we need to work through it, because of what we have to experience here, coming from a different culture and adapting to this culture, and disappear in a way in order for us to feel accepted. And now
Mhm.
that we are older now and have more tools,
Yeah.
how do you feel like, how do you see yourself today after all these years of figuring Majet out without the survival mechanism? Because we still have it.
Oh
It's
yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
we have more tools now where we can catch things sooner now. Unless it's short term. Like, I can see myself when I am when I'm stressed or hungry or tired, how I respond to my family members here, right? I can see my father doing that. Like, oh, that was ugly. And then I'll go and talk to my fiance, like, I'm sorry. Here's why I respond to you this way. So I'm sorry. So I'm more self-aware because of the work that I continue to do. So I would love to hear from you, like, where are you now with the tools that you have gathered through your life?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you expressing that, especially the part of like you sharing that, there will be triggers, right? And we will be triggered. And we're accountable to have the tools to, not react, right? And be right, and be on a fight. And that's a defense mechanism, right? That's a stress response, fight or flight, and be on the fight mode, right? And be able to recognize and become aware that, oh, I'm being triggered, but that isn't about me. right? And be able to, not react to that and put in the, put in the fight, right? Because fighting is it's a lot of energy, right? So, and I think I totally resonate with that, with what you're sharing, right? Um, where I am now with all the work that I have been doing, the healing, the educating, the learning, I would say that I am a regulated person more than I was before. Because before I was that person, so dysregulated that I get triggered, I react. And my stress response, my typical stress response is fight and flight, right? I fight. It's me against you, us
Or
against
freeze, right? Or freeze,
yeah,
like
right. Yeah, and that is, yeah, yeah. So what will happen to me is like my response, like I'll fight, and then I'm gonna flight, which is like I'm gonna be busy. I'm like a type. I was a type A. I want to control things. I want to make sure that I, do. Like that was my stress response, and then I freeze, and then I'm like so exhausted from all that that like I numb, right? That was me before. And numbing this, this maladaptive coping, mechanism that I have done before is eating, right? It's like stuff my face, right? Numb this feeling, right, of sadness. I didn't want to feel sad, I didn't want to be anxious, and so I stuffed myself. And because I was looking for ways to regulate my nervous system, so my nervous system was whack, right? Because my traumas were not healed. So now, with all the work that I have been doing, I will call myself, or I find myself as a more regulated person. Am I perfect? No. If I didn't get enough sleep, if I'm hangry, if I haven't exercised or been outside, if it's raining all the time, like my nervous system gets dysregulated. But then I recognize that now, and I'm like, okay, I just need a nap, or I need to feed myself, or I need to do a short meditation, or I need to do some chanting, right? I need to stretch. Like I'm aware, but then comparing myself now to where I was before, I am regulated.
perfect. I love it. I love it. So then your passion project that I am very, very happy to be a part of is DivaGirl Tribe. And now that I've got to know the woman behind, now it makes sense why you want to create a tribe of bringing awareness and healing to your platform. So tell us more about what why you decided, because as I was reading um things about you and the Diva Girl tribe story, it was a mission that was created in Toronto, correct?
That is
And
correct.
so what made you like, hey, like this can't die, we need to keep this alive and we need to bring this to America? So what made you to take that responsibility to
Yeah.
represent a Diva Girl in US?
Yes. I wanted to be in a community, right? I wanted to feel like I belong somewhere. And like what I said, growing up in the Philippines and growing up in an all girls school and having a lot of female friends. And it was very nurturing and it was great for me growing up. And then moving to the US and feeling alone, and being in spaces where I stuck out, right? And then I went into a field where it's male dominated. And I thought that my identity was this tomboy, right? And I'm tough just like the guys, right? I can't be emotional, I can't be this and that as a female, so and then I got invited to this event in Toronto, Canada called DivaGirl. And I'm like, I'm so not a diva. I don't like pink. And then now I actually really do that. Even my mom had been telling me that you love pink when you were growing up. So, anyways, so I went there and I saw this women who are happy and joyful. And I'm like, and it was just a whole bunch of women in one building. And I haven't had that in a very long time, right? Since I moved to the US. And I was like, this felt amazing. I'm like, and then I realized that this women were business owners. I'm like, oh, they're doing what they love and they're making money from it, right? I'm like, I want more of this. I want more. I want to be around this type of women. And again, coming from, the field of EMS, mostly men, I'm like, where do I find communities like this in Philly? So I reach out to the founder. I'm like, yo, like, you have to bring this to the US and, and Philadelphia, and my friends will come. A few girlfriends will come to the conference in Philly. She's like, come on, I'll help you plan it. And I ended up, I thought she was going to plan all the event and I will bring in my girlfriend and go to the event in Philadelphia. But I ended up becoming a business owner. And this is how the universe works, right? And, and I ended up, the owner, Laura Furtado, my great mentor, taught me how to become an entrepreneur, how to look for females who are going to be speakers, female business owners, how to network, how to make connection. She's big on that. Connection, building relationship. And then, to like 2015, not having a community of women, to now having like more than 1,000 women, right? And having our 9th wellness conference, right?
Congratulations.
Centered around women, right? And now I'm like so fortunate and happy that I get to meet amazing women like yourself, right, who's dedicated in like educating and empowering women in so many different ways, right? And and women who kind of look like me, right? Women like who are white and brown and black and Asians, and and then coming together in one space, lifting each other up, supporting each other, and just sharing their skills. And I was just like, oh my God, like I'm so grateful. It's a lot of work and I'm tired at times, but I'm just like, but it's so fulfilling and it's so joyful. So yeah, so that's, I I don't want to stop yet.
Me
So
neither.
yeah. Yeah.
So tell me who is the Diva girl? Who are
Who
you
is,
surveying? Which kind of woman needs this drive?
yeah. So who is a diva girl? So to tell you honestly, Diva Girl, like everybody is welcome. Every woman is welcome. However, we may not, we're not a fit for everyone. You know what I'm saying? Like um, our community is composed of many women from different backgrounds, and and our main goal is to build connection and support each other, education and empowering. And it's not the typical networking event where it's transactional, which is also, I understand, it's important in business. But if you're a woman who is looking to make more connections, build relationship, learn more, and feel empowered, or have the skills or the talent that you want to share, to a group of women, then Diva Girl is for you, because our community is about giving back, right? It's about accepting women, right? And their flaws, and also their talents and skills, and and highlighting those, right? So that it can resonate and other women can relate to it and know that they are not alone. So yeah, if you're looking for a community that educates and empowers women with by creating or curating spaces of diverse, community-driven, confident women, then you're more than welcome to come join us.
That's awesome. So the major event that I'm a part of, that I'm super excited to be a part of, is May 21st.
Mhm.
And you also have a membership program. Can we talk about that?
Yes, of course. So we have a two-tier membership, actually three. So we have a free community on Facebook, Diva Girl 411. You may join. Anybody who's interested in connecting with 1.4 thousand members, feel free to join that. It's free. Our events are, even though you're not a member, you're welcome to attend our events. And we have the lifestyle membership, which is for women who don't have a business or just starting out in business. And a lot of the women in that lifestyle membership are either students or recently graduate, or moms, or or empty nesters, or women who are looking for event spaces, and also teachers, educators, coaches, mentors. Those are our lifestyle members, and it's $20 a month, and you get to attend some of our signature events for free. You get to be part of our quarterly brunches, and attend our meetups, and our book club, and our big conferences. So we have that, and you get also free programs, courses. And then we have our business affiliate membership, and our business affiliate membership are geared towards women business owners. Whether you're starting out or you have been in business for a while, it's a great space to be promoted. So we have this group of women who are not business owners, who are looking to support and get educated and learn from women business owners. So our business affiliate members are the people I highlight and present to our community. So and our business affiliate members meet every Monday, for not every Monday, I'm sorry, every once a month for our mastermind. You get to lead our meetups, and give and share your skills and your talents to our community. You get to be on stage on our conferences, and you also get big discounts. So for vendor spots, for conferences, and you also get opportunities to volunteer at like local nonprofit organization, be featured on TV, and also be a part of investor lunches or breakfast, and meet other organizational leaders in the community, in Philadelphia that promotes local business owners or help and support local business owners. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Girl, listen, every time you talk, I continue to fall in love with you because you're
Ah.
such a mission-driven woman. It's beautiful to watch, and I'm so glad that we cross paths. So, like, my spirit was saying, hey, she is the one who you need to collaborate with, because again, I fell in love with you at Selfish Philly last year. And now
Yeah,
it's
shout out
like,
to Danielle Massey. Yeah, she's
yes,
a diva girl.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's amazing too.
Yeah.
Philly has a lot of hidden gems, like
Yeah.
powerful healers, badass women. And I'm very honored to be, in your group and to be a part of your mission, and having you on this podcast, because I want, my bonitas to get to know you and your work, and also know where to find help or support. So where can the listeners find you? Tell us.
Yes. Yes, definitely. So you can find me on social media. I have two. One is DivaGirl Community, and that's all women empowerment, women education, and women business owners in our community, and also events that are happening. And then I am also Philly Trauma Counselor, and that's me on Instagram, Philly Trauma Counselor, and that is where I do all my mental health stuff. And you can reach me there. You can DM me, or you can go to my website at resilientmindworks.com.
And all that information is going to be under our show notes. So don't worry about it, bonitas. It will be all available on the show, under the show notes. So, Miss Majet, is anything that you will like to cover, or to give us a takeaway from this conversation, which was delicious? What would you like? Oh, I have a better question.
Okay.
What would you say to 17-year-old Majet from where you standing today?
Hmm. I would tell the 17-year-old Majet to practice showing up as your true, authentic self as often as you can. To not hide, to please others. To not dim your light. To make space or please others. To speak up loudly. You have a voice. It needs to be heard. And to show up in spaces, ask for what you need, and be your authentic self.
On that note, Bonitas, this episode is complete. Thank you so much for your presence, Majet, and I'll see you soon. All right, Bonitas, thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you the next episode of the Be Bonita podcast. Have a great day. Ciao. All right, Majet. So let's talk about stress. Like I do skincare, as you know, and I see women that they are going through a lot of emotional stress, through going through a divorce or going through, a lot of work, especially the healthcare providers. I have a lot of them. And when I notice like their skin is dehydrated, they have a lot of acne that is related to stress. As a therapist, how can women, us, hey, I'm right there too. I don't have acne, but I have I'm perimenopause right now, and my hair is thinning out, and also stress of managing a business. So I know what I need to do. Longer showers. I give myself facials. I give myself self massage to regulate the nerve system. And I'm sure as a woman, you went through that. Can you share with us first, if you ever had any skin issues because of that?
Oh my gosh, I had really bad skin in my teenage years, in my early 20s, up to like my 30s and mid 30s, until I started doing the inner work, right? So let me tell you, like I had cystic acne, like all over my chin, right? That's like hormonal. I always heard that, right? And I would buy all these products to like put on my skin, and they're very harsh, right? And it never cleared out. Maybe it will clear out for a little bit and then it'll come back, right? Not knowing that it's stress, right? Not knowing that, like I have to take care the inside too, right? Not just mentally or emotionally, but also what I put inside my body. I didn't know all that. I mean, I've gone to like different types of skin, like esthetician to figure out what's going on with my face in my early 20s. And then and you know what, one thing that I remember too, because it started when I was a teenager, and I remember the disgust of how people have looked at my face and be like, oh, what happened to you, right? Oh, like, did you have chicken pox, right? Because it will be like pigmented, right? Like it's
And the
like,
scarring.
yeah. And it's like, and then they would look at me like, oh, what happened to your face? Like, did you have chicken pox? Or like, or why won't you do this? Why won't you take this? Why won't you put this stuff on your face, right? Or even my doctor would like, let's put you on birth control
Okay.
pills. That would help, right?
Mm.
So, and no, I did not get a prescription for Accutane, but it was like, okay, let's try this the birth controls pill. And I'm like, okay, but it really didn't go away, because deep down inside, right, I was still having a lot of issues, and that's emotionally, mentally, and I didn't really know what healthy stuff to put in my body. I didn't care. I didn't know. I always thought that I just gotta take care of the outside, right? So so yeah, like that's how I was until like my probably 35, like late 30s was
Mhm.
when my skin started clearing. And it's interesting that you asked this question, because it was around 35 that I went back to school for my grad school, and that's when I started seeking a therapist and doing the inner work, right? And then I started, oh, here's another thing. I started prioritizing myself and treating myself better. And one of those are like going to facials, not because of like there's something wrong with me, but because I need to take care of me. You know what I mean? And I love watching your videos because this is something that you talk about, right? This is not just this is not about just looking good, like on the outside, but it's really taking care of yourself, honoring your body, honoring the skin that you're in. And it's like how that is so rejuvenating. That is such self-care, right? Like, and I say this, right? I say this, I'm like, self-care, hashtag self-care is not just manicure and pedicure and spa days and facials, right? But it is nurturing yourself. It is preserving yourself. It is an act of self-love, right? And I'm like, oh, like and that was when I started loving, truly loving myself at that age, around 35 to like, I'm 43 now. And it's like, and then when you think about it, wasn't that too long ago that I started to recognize what loving yourself truly means, right? And that's when my skin started to heal too, right? And and also considering like going to getting regular facial, and also getting like not just whatever products are out there, but really, like I saw you talk about circadia and like like those products. Yes, they are more expensive, but then this is about nurturing you, putting yourself first, loving you first. And I started doing that like when I turned 35, like my late 30s. And that's when my skin started to like get better. So I appreciate you bringing this up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's I like to call self-care as self-devotion,
Oh, I love that.
because if you think about devotion, you think about what the word of devotion is, when there is this sense of, oh, I'm looking up at something and I just adore, and I am devoting to you, or I'm devoting to it. So when you bring it to closer to you, where the self-devotion means commitment is non-negotiable. I need to take care of myself. And a facial, a massage, a pedicure, you're having someone taking care of you, right? And we, because we normally don't do that for ourselves. I have clients that they come in, and I'm analyzing their skin. I'm like, okay, Majet, when was the last time you exfoliated? I knew you would say that. Oh my gosh, I'm in trouble. I exfoliated last month. All right, Majet, come on. You already bought the product. You're paying to see me. You need to do your part. I do my part when you come to see me. I need you to do your part, because this is a team dynamic. Like, I am your skin therapist, but you need to do the work. You're not, just imagine you're paying a personal trainer for sessions, but you expect the personal trainer to do push-ups.
Right,
You need to
right.
do your part. So when you're talking about like your skin became clear or more radiant in 35, is because you made a decision to take care of yourself.
100%.
And as you, like, for me, as busy as I am, pedicure is a treat for me, because it's 45 minutes. I get express pedicure every 3 weeks. And as I'm there, the hot water is bubbly, the aromatherapy is going, somebody is massaging my feet. I'm like, I deserve this. There is a like, I'm glad that I made it, because I could have canceled this shit because I'm busy. But
Uh-huh.
that helps me to reset my senses, and it leads me to walk taller, right? Because I feel good, because I got my toes clean. It's not rough, right? Because my fiance is like, yeah, it's time for you to get a pedicure. And I'm like, I'm out of time. But when I do make it, it's like, oh, I need to make sure it's in my schedule. So anyway, my point is taking care of the self and create that self-devotion practice that is, it should be non-negotiable. Like for me, I'm managing my business as I am dealing with clients, as I am on my days that I'm not seeing them, I'm doing administrative work. And I tell him, like, listen, shower for me is my self-care. Shower time. When I get home, I don't want to carry in a conversation.
Mhm.
I say hello or whatever. First thing I do, take my bra off and I go take a hot shower. And now you get the Viviane, the caring and loving Viviane. But before that, do not talk to me while I'm showering. I don't want to hear how your day went. Let me just decompress, and that is my self-devotion time. Of course, I have my practices in the morning, meditation, I do
Right.
my reading, I do my thing, Peloton, whatever. But
Yeah.
then again, like, is also that sense of self-responsibility to take care of yourself. And that is, it should be non-negotiable. And that's one of the things that I feel like women, um, they, because we're in this realm of wellness and in your case and beauty and wellness, it's
Mhm.
just like, no, yeah, I'm going to take care of myself, but our clients or your patients or even our girlfriends, they look at us like, oh yeah, that would be nice if I had that time. It's your
Yeah.
responsibility
It is
to
your
make the
responsibility.
time, to
Mhm.
create the time to take care of yourself, because that's why you're having acne, because you're stressed and you're
Mhm.
saying yes to everybody else but no to yourself.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you can't judge me neither when I go in and get a facial from Viviane and
Yeah.
I'm paying all
Yeah.
that money that you wish you had, right? Is a choice. Like, I choose to take care of myself, because when I do take care of myself, I'm not as vulnerable to be triggered by
Yeah.
people, drama. Now I know who I am, and I know that you know, I'm strong and beautiful, because I
Yeah.
am cultivating that every time that I'm getting a pedicure, getting a facial, or even simply reading a book is a
Yeah.
choice for
Right.
me. So
Yeah.
that's I love that we got to that conversation,
Me
because
too. Yeah.
it's very simple, and I feel like that we complicate with for no reason, because it's that
Yeah.
simple.
Oh my God. I'm loving this conversation. I'm glad that we went to it, right? Because that self-devotion, like it again, society, different societies, right? I'm sure Brazil is the same way, and Philippines is the same way, here in America, the same way. Like neglecting yourself is a badge of honor, especially if you're a woman. You got to put others first. You got to take care of others first. It's self-sacrifice, and that's how we all feel loved. Bullshit. I call bullshit on it. Now I say this, but before I totally was playing that game too, right? Like guilty. But however, I realized that for us to take care of others without resentment and with so much love, we got to start with us first. We got to love ourselves first. We got to learn how to love and accept ourselves first, so that we can love and accept others, so that we're not being triggered, right? Because triggers are everywhere, and be reactive, right? Because those exercises, those practices of getting a massage, of just reading a book, or taking the time for yourself, getting a facial, right? Getting a mani and pedi, right? Like, or even yoga, or whatever it is that brings you joy. That time that you put for yourself helps you become regulated, right? It regulates your nervous system. I go back to mental health here, right? It helps you regulate it, and you show up to the world for other people with the 8 C's. I'm going to try to make sure that I get the 8 C's. When your nervous system is regulated because you had taken care of yourself, right? You took the time to put on your calendar to take care of yourself. You're going to show up to the world and for the people you love with compassion, connected, courageous, confident, calm, clear, curious. Uh-oh. I got two more, and you know, and curious, compassionate, clear, um, confident, courageous, calm, and two other C's. I'm sorry.
we, we're gonna add that on the show
And we'll
notes.
add that on the thing, right? And that's because I don't want to take too much more of our time. But however, these are the things that when you do, like when you love yourself first, you're going to show up to the world better with a regulated nervous system and loving without resentment other people. So devotion, self-devotion is important, just like what you're saying. So I agree with you 100%.
Thank you, my friend.
You're welcome.